everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Heartbeat Narratives. My name is Molly and I'm your host. And I am so over the moon to have my friend Rachel here today. We have been friends since 2012.
Yeah.
And you were like one of my first friends in grad school.
You were my first.
Do you remember how we met?
I think it was outside of class, right? And it was literally like, hey, I need a friend. Do you want to be my friend? And then we hung out for 8 hours.
And you had just moved home to Hawaii.
Yeah, I had spent 5 years in Nebraska and Iowa, and I think it was my second week back in Hawaii.
We were so fresh, so young.
23, fresh out of college.
I remember recently seeing a picture when we volunteered
at the Kalo
at
Hawaii.
Yeah.
Oh.
And looking back now and seeing pictures of us from 2012,
yeah,
it just seemed like we were even smaller.
We were babies. We were baby-faced and yeah, just wow. Same hairstyles though.
Yeah. We haven't evolved in that department.
No need.
But thank you for coming on and just being open to this conversation. I'm in awe of all of your interests and also how articulate you are. You have a myriad of talents, and I feel like you could be good at anything.
Oh, thank you. I don't know about that, but we try.
We try.
Yeah. But
I feel like those skills are coming forward in different ways as we get older.
Wiser, hopefully.
We're definitely wiser than
fresh-faced 23-year-olds trying to find a club on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, let's go dancing together.
Yeah.
But I must say we were really good students.
Very.
You were a pro at writing papers.
A pro at procrastinating.
But getting it done and getting the grade.
Yeah, it happened. It happened under pressure.
Definitely. I'm curious, since this podcast is all about what brings us joy, what makes us tick, what fills our cup, what is it that brings you joy? What makes your heart beat?
Yeah, so it took a while for me to even figure out what made my heart beat. It was over the course of years, but I think I always knew that it was agriculture here in Hawaii and being able to feed our local communities. I think when I first started studying environmental science in college, I originally went to college for pre-pharmacy. Thought that was my passion, and only because I had a chemistry teacher in high school tell me, hey, you're good at chemistry, why don't you become a pharmacist? They make a bunch of money. I was like, that doesn't sound bad. And so I kind of had that thread of thought where I was like, okay, I'm going to be a pharmacist, but didn't know how I felt about it, kind of like deep in my soul, until I did a service trip my freshman year of college, and it was to a sustainable farm run by a bunch of nuns.
No way!
I actually lived in a convent for about a week. These nuns raised alpacas for wool. They had greenhouses and taught me literally everything about what we call regenerative agriculture now. I didn't know it at the time, but it sparked something in me, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's people out here actually doing work that, I don't know, brings me joy. And long story short, I stayed with pharmacy.
Naturally.
And naturally, you find your passion and you do the other thing. Yeah, I stuck with pharmacy. I worked in a pharmacy for a while, got into pharmacy school, and then came a fork in the road where I had to decide, and ultimately I decided not to pursue pharmacy. So I moved back home, started grad school in natural resources and environmental management. Met you first day of school, fresh-faced, and it changed the course of my life. And it's been a little over 10 years since we graduated, and things have shifted since then. But I've worked in energy efficiency and forestry, conservation. There was a moment during COVID, like everybody else, where you really had to take an introspective look at your entire life, have a weird midlife crisis, as most millennials do, and quit my career job that I had been in for 6 years and decided to leave it all to become a farmer. And there was something about the first day stepping onto a farm. I actually worked for a couple of small farmers here in Hawaii, wonderful people at Ahiki Acres and Kanekoa Farms, but it just spoke to me, and I knew that was what made my heart beat.
Rachel, you're gonna make me cry. I'm so impressed with you that you've taken so many pivots in your interests, but it's helped clarify more and more what your real interest and purpose is. I did not remember that you had gone to school to study pharmacy.
It was a different kind of farming.
Farming PH or farming F?
Yes. And I think the commonality with those two things was I really knew that I wanted to help people and help my community. And I was young. Again, like you said, all of these pivot points was just to clarify what my passions really were, and figuring out that the way I wanted to help people was to work in food systems and making sure that our local communities were fed and that we could address the severe food insecurity, especially here in Hawaii, for local people and Native Hawaiian communities and all of the underserved, underrepresented communities that we have here. And it's hard to feed our families. We've been there too. As a farmer, unfortunately, we've had to have help SNAP EBT, and there's wonderful programs out there. There's wonderful farmers out there that are doing the hard work to make sure that families get fed every day. Yeah, it just resonated deeply with me.
What about farming do you like so much, like being in the field? What are those moments where you're like, this is what I'm meant to be doing?
Yeah, it was a hard thing to narrow down because it's a little bit of everything. Funnily enough, I didn't grow up loving the outdoors. Like, I am not an outdoor person at all. I think in preschool I used to carry around a little towel during field trips so I didn't have to touch the grass.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, little Rachel.
Yep. But there's something about literally being grounded and working on the land, with the land, respecting the boundaries that the land has for you and listening to that too, while also understanding what, I guess, the best way is to interact with your particular environment, your particular soil, the piece of land that you're on. And when you do communicate well with the Aina, it really flourishes. And so as a farmer, I would go out every day, and one of the first things that we say, to be a successful farmer, you really need to stand in your field and kilo and just observe what's happening. You listen to what the Aina is telling you. And that was like a big point of resonation with me too. It was like the meditation practice that you went through every day. And even as I was weeding, harvesting, seeding too, I saw it as active meditation throughout my day. Don't get me wrong, back-breaking work, so hard, sweat in my eyes. Like, I been out in so many storms, like too many to count, just zip tying things down, and not great. There's a story I'll save for later about a cane spider flying into my face in the middle of a windstorm. It's not all romantic and beautiful. I do want to emphasize that it is hard, backbreaking work, and farmers just don't get paid enough to do this work. But knowing that the end goal is really the work that we're putting in, the sweat equity that goes into it from yourself, your communities, it's really going back to the people. And I think that's what just resonated with me the most.
In some of our earlier conversations, you were just talking about everybody has a connection to food.
Yes.
And so no matter who you are, living anywhere in the world, knowing where your food comes from is a way to connect deeply with land and abundance and your farmers, fisher people, and so forth. In Hawaii in particular, why do you think food security is so important?
I think the last study that was done, they still say that here in Hawaii, about 80 to 90% of our food is imported. And that makes us incredibly food insecure, especially in Hawaii. We felt a little bit of those effects during COVID too, when shipping is delayed or even shut down. We have no other source right now. I think it's so important for us to tap into what we already have and what the potential could be for agriculture here in Hawaii. We also, as a state, just don't get as many of the same agricultural subsidies that the continent gets too. And yes, a lot of the produce that we might receive from the continent or even from other countries, I think a lot of it is so subsidized that we as consumers get jaded by how cheap certain things can be, when that's not a true reflection of what the labor is and what there's the land cost, both in a capital kind of viewpoint, but also in terms of like what the aina gives to you too. And there is a cost with that on what we need to provide back to the aina. So I think as we shift to thinking about local agriculture and what we can do to not just make ourselves as a community, as a state, or as a nation more secure, but it's like, how do we in turn pay back some of that cost too? Yeah.
Wow. I'm curious, you went from being in conservation.
Yes.
I remember you wielding machetes through the forest.
Yep.
And I have to just let the audience know that you're very petite.
I say I'm 5 foot, but I don't think so. My license does.
My license says 5'1", but I know it's not true.
we add a little. It's buffer height.
But I've been so impressed with the types of jobs that you've taken on despite those career paths not necessarily being designed for petite women.
It's so true. That's something that speaks to my soul too. I've spoken to a lot of younger groups, especially geared towards girls. So there's the YWCA, they do this beautiful program with the Girls Summit, and it was such a privilege to be able to stand in front of a group of 6th to 8th graders and talk about my journey as a farmer. And I think a lot of their first reactions was, how can you be a farmer? You're so small. I'm like, I understand. They're like, we're bigger than you, miss. I'm like, I also understand that. But I don't know. I think if we're talking about what makes my heart beat, that's part of it too. It's this rebellious nature where it's, you know what? We as small petite women need to show society that we can do things. We can make things happen. With farming especially, tools are not made for women our size. These tools are built for 6 foot something, 250-pound men. When I think about hand tools or even BCS tractors, even tractors themselves, the seats don't go up far enough for my feet to reach the pedals.
Oh my gosh. How?
And I used to carry around this foot cushion just to put behind my back so it would give me enough leverage to drive the tractor in my field.
I had no idea, Rachel. Oh my gosh.
And it was frustrating, but at the same time, it makes me want to advocate more for, understanding that a diverse group of people can do these jobs, and to try to inspire girls and other women to seek out jobs like this. You do not need to be limited by the tools that are provided now. And not to say that having tools that would be fit to size, it would be more ergonomically correct for my body. We find that there's a lot more injuries that happen with women who use tools that aren't sized to their bodies too. There's, I think, a lot of things systemically that can change.
You're really good at this type of pioneering. Because I remember right out of grad school, you always had a machete in your backpack.
It was true.
Because you were doing field work in the mountains.
Yes, we were being helicoptered into the wahine and doing a lot of invasive species clearing, especially since it was protected lands. And so there's a lot of endangered species that were being outplanted to those areas. And you gotta use a machete sometimes.
It was just ironic because you're a gentle, sweet person, but you have this fierceness that comes through in your work that's applied across the board to like whatever you apply yourself to. Can you tell me a little bit about the Pastry Farmer initiative?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was such a fun project. So during COVID, when I decided to pivot, I decided to create my business called the Pastry Farmer. And the reason it's called the Pastry Farmer, I wanted something, a business name that made people pause and think. I thought it was a nice little illustrative play in your mind, thinking about a whole bunch of croissants popping out of the field.
Oh, that's cute. You have the sweater on right now.
I do. And my great friend, she designed this logo. But for those listening, the Pastry Farmer logo, it's shaped as a Japanese crest, which is half of my heritage. But on the bottom is a croissant. In the middle are the farm fields. And then on the very top is the flower of the Camellia sinensis, which is tea. But it's also shaped as like the rising sun. So it was all encompassing of what I was passionate about. And I love baking. I went to culinary school at the beginning of 2021 to really understand the end chain of the food system too. So again, I'm still thinking agriculture. I knew I wanted to be a farmer, but I had some time before I was applying to the GoFarm Hawaiʻi program. So enrolled in culinary school and learned how to bake. And it got the wheels turning on how chefs utilized ingredients, where they were sourcing their ingredients from, and again, just solidified this food insecurity that we have here in Hawaii, especially with baked goods. We're not growing wheat in Hawaii, so it's okay, what do we have here that we could use? And stuff like ulu flour is becoming more popular thanks to the ulu co-op. And
ulu is breadfruit.
Yes. And just beautiful fruits and vegetables that we could use that could be turned into wonderful culinary items and baked goods. That was the pastry portion of the Pastry Farmer. I even delved into some fruit tart sales.
Oh, those were so good. Those were delicious.
Thank you. But it was really to highlight local ingredients and kind of boost these farmers and other producers. There was local vanilla that I was using, local chocolate, even mangoes. I was getting strawberries from Kula, blueberries from Volcano, just a little bit of everything to come together in this canvas that was my fruit tart. That was just the beginning of things before I started farming. And once I started farming, then I had my own farm for a little bit called Fukumoto Farms. That was through the GoFarm program before I moved to Hawaiʻi Island and started tea farming. So I was actually what I call now, I was a freelance farmer. So I was a farmer for contract hire and learned how to farm tea. I was doing most of the production myself by hand. We were doing green and black tea processing. And yeah, the Pastry Farmer has really carried me throughout this little over 4-year journey now. And even though I'm not quite as actively involved in the Pastry Farmer, I think it's still a really wonderful platform for myself to remind me that there's all of this really good work that needs to be done in kind of the farming community that bridges that gap to the culinary community too.
You're right in the middle of it all.
Try to be, but there are so many other people doing such good work in both of those communities already that, yeah, it's been such a pleasure to meet everybody and see what's already being done. And so many exciting things for the culinary scene here in Hawaii, and just so many great chefs here that are utilizing local ingredients too.
I remember during the pandemic, every few weeks, you would deliver this beautiful CSA box to our home, and we got to learn how to cook all of these new vegetables, and you even provided recipes for us. Could you talk about community-supported agriculture and what CSA boxes are?
Yeah. So in the GoFarm Hawaii program, we focused in on these community-supported agriculture boxes as our business model. And really the idea is that folks who want to buy into these boxes pay up front, so you're actually supporting the farmer in their journey. Farmers, like I said, often don't get paid fairly or don't get paid until after their crops are done. And so they're often fronting the cost to grow and the time for all of it. But having the community purchase a CSA box allows them to have the money up front, to have that feedback and the interaction with the community already from the start, to purchase seeds, to purchase the fertilizers, to pay for their labor. And at the end of it, you as the consumer get this beautiful, almost a surprise mixed box. And it depends on the farmers, what's the word I'm looking for?
Assortment?
Yeah, assortment, and even, their interval of when they're going to distribute their boxes too. But it's like opening up a present every week.
It was! And everything was so vibrant and colorful and fresh.
Yeah, I think that was the one thing that struck me when I first became a farmer, especially growing diversified vegetables, was how long the veggies lasted in my fridge or even out on the counter. And then realizing too that the food that we're purchasing from the grocery stores that come from the continent, they've already been sitting in a shipping container for a couple of weeks, plus the harvest period, plus that wash period. And so your produce is at the end of its life. I think that's what's wonderful about knowing your local farmer, is that you're not just supporting somebody's livelihood in your community, but you as a consumer are receiving such a high quality product that's probably more nutritious and much more fresh than what you would get at the grocery store.
It was so cool. Do you remember any of the recipes that you included? Could you
Yes.
get into one of them, for example?
I still use this recipe to this day. I think I made it last week. But we used to grow this daikon variety called daikon bravo. And if you remember, it was this beautiful purple radish.
Yes.
Yes. And the nice thing about this purple daikon bravo was that it didn't have that bite or even the spiciness to it that some of the other daikons have. So it's perfect for a fresh salad. One of the recipes is you cut the daikon into matchsticks. So you have these beautiful purple matchsticks and then mix it in with carrots. And so I used to cut the carrots into matchsticks as well. You squeeze a little bit of calamansi juice. I like to use calamansi just because it was local. I could find it, or Big Island oranges or something like that. Lemon from your backyard. A little bit of shoyu. I think we had sesame oil, rice vinegar, and topped with some green onions and sesame seeds. And I like to add a little bit of fish sauce in there just for a little bit of umami, but it was such a nice, refreshing salad to start your meal.
I'm hungry right now. And we just ate like a huge Indian meal dinner. But that just sounds like mouth-watering and juicy and fresh.
It really felt like you were eating something from the field. I think that week in the CSA, I had provided both the daikon, the carrots, and the green onions in that. And so there was something about having a whole meal that felt sustainable in itself that fed your soul too.
Yeah. I always like to think of when you look down at your plate, think about where every ingredient came from. Are you eating fast food where it's all from somewhere else, some ambiguous mix of things? Or do you know exactly where your fruit came from and your meat came from? And maybe it's local ice cream for dessert. So I guess I challenge people to consider, like, where are your ingredients from? When you look at your plate,
Yeah.
what percentage is from your state?
It's a really fun challenge. It's so important to tell folks not to beat themselves up for not having 100% local. But even if you can replace one thing on your plate, and I fully understand even costs for some of that too. Not everybody can afford to buy local, or not everybody has the accessibility for local ingredients. But if you do have the ability to, it's a nice challenge to be able to do that.
I love it. What is your favorite thing to grow, and what is your favorite thing to cook?
Ooh, let's see. So, my favorite thing to grow, I think there's two things. For some reason, I love root crop veggies. If we're talking about food, really root crops, for some reason, seeing their tiny little heads pop out of the soil, it feeds my soul. They're so cute. I love a good beet that peeks out from the soil, and yeah, radishes, even kalo. They're beautiful plants and they're so fun to eat. But the thing that I've had the most fun growing is tea. I worked and lived on a tea farm for about 1.5 years up in North Glenwood on the Big Island. And everything about this plant is fascinating. It's such an unassuming tree. You have to hedge it. Most people don't realize that if you leave a tea plant to grow, most of them will grow 15, 30 feet tall.
Really?
Yep. They're actual trees.
I had no idea.
Yeah, when you see photos of all of these tea plantations with hedges, it's purposefully done, so it's easier to pick from. The wild thing about tea is that you need to know how to process it. Just tea off of the bush itself, it's bitter. You can't really just boil leaves off of a Camellia sinensis plant, thinking that it'll give you a cup of tea. It tastes pretty terrible. I've tried it. It needs to go through a very extensive process in order to get a cup of green tea, black tea, oolong. It's all the same plant as well. It's just the process that changes it into different types of teas. Growing tea, drinking tea has always been a ritual for me since I was a child, but it's such a fascinating plant to grow. I think on the culinary side of things too, I'm not much of a cook. My husband, and he's the chef in our family. We met in culinary school.
Literally a chef.
Yes. So I leave the cooking to him. I think if I'm thinking about culinary and things that I enjoy cooking, I think about tea all the time. And it's like, what can I use tea in, like a processed form, as the leaves, brewed. I think one of the most fun things that we did with raw leaves, we brought it to a chef once. He was having dinner service, but he took the leaves in the back and he made tempura tea leaves.
No way.
Yes, they do that not a lot, but if you visit Japan and visit tea farms, on occasion you'll find fresh tempura tea leaves. And it's a lovely flavor. It has a little bit of astringency and a little bit of bitterness, but if you pick the leaves when they're nice and young, they're supple, they're tender, there's some sweetness to it, it's floral, it's grassy, and then you get the crunch from the tempura batter, and with a little bit of salt or even some ponzu is nice too. It opened my eyes and my world into what could be possible when you have farmers in your area. Because you wouldn't be able to make tempura tea leaves off of processed leaves. You have to have the fresh items.
Super cool. Earlier you mentioned a cane spider.
Oh.
Could you tell the story? I wrote it down because I didn't want to forget.
Yes. This story is really just to highlight the challenges that your local farmer is probably going through on a daily basis. As we all know, we've been having a series of storms come through Hawaiʻi, and terrible winds, terrible rains. Most people, when the storms come through, will stay in their houses. Your farmer is probably out in the fields, securing everything, making sure their plants are okay, harvesting. We just had a farmer friend harvesting vegetables while it was flooding because she needed to get vegetables to her vendor.
Wow.
And so the cane spider, I had gone to my farm in the morning to secure some of my greenhouses and was standing on a 5-gallon bucket because I'm terribly short, and so had some zip ties in my hand on this teetering bucket, and I want to say it was like 35, 40 mile per hour winds.
No.
And I felt something slap my face. I thought it was my ponytail.
No.
But realized that I had my hair up in a bun that day and happened to look down and felt the legs grab onto my neck,
No.
down my arm, and realized it was a cane spider, and the only thing I had in my hand were the zip ties and my phone. So I used my phone to smack the cane spider off of my arm and just kind of sat there in fetal position, silently screaming in the middle of the storm, and saw it scurry away. I think I grabbed a picture of it before it ran away because I knew that I was going to black out after that moment. And as much as I wanted to go home and just cry and take a shower first and then cry, yeah, I realized that I couldn't leave the field yet. There was a lot that needed to be done. So I had to pull up my big girl pants and grab my machete and hope for the best that no other cane spiders would fly into my face.
Oh my gosh, how big was this spider?
So the body itself, I want to say, was probably 1.5 inches, but across leg to leg was a good 5-6 inches.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. They look like tarantulas.
They do. Oh my gosh, Rachel.
My understanding is they don't bite unless really provoked.
Okay.
And it wasn't enough provocation for it to bite me.
I'm glad you're okay.
Me too. Thank you.
Did you black out?
I don't really remember much of that day. I did go home after I harvested, took a shower, and then I think I laid on the floor for, 4 hours or so.
The life of a farmer.
It is.
So, do you have any final thoughts for folks who want to support local agriculture in their areas, whether they live here in Hawaii or elsewhere? How can people actively support farmers?
Yeah, I think the easiest thing I always say is head down to your local farmers market and talk to the farmers there. I think it's so important to start having conversations with farmers, ask them very respectfully how they're growing their items, and give them opportunities to show pride in their work. I think not enough people ask farmers about how they feel about what they're doing, or even what is their favorite crop to grow. Those kinds of questions, it's always a thrill for us to get. But yeah, start seeking out your local farmers. I think people are doing a fantastic job now, especially as we see a lot of these egg shortages that have been happening now. Folks are realizing really the only way to consistently get eggs is from your local farmers. So those are great steps. Seek out if there's any sort of farm extension agencies in the area. You can ask them if they have farmers programs like the GoFarm Hawaiʻi program. They have wonderful resources online on, like a farmer directory too. And try a CSA out. There might be veggies in there that you've never even heard of. It might be your new favorite food.
That's so true. I love it. Any other things that came up while we were talking that you'd like to reflect on?
I think that's it.
We'll write a book together.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. A beautiful book about egg.
Yeah, Rachel and I were brainstorming earlier about how to write a children's book to make farming exciting for kids.
Yes, and especially in Hawaii, farming is so exciting here. I think all of the different farming practices that we have here, to having lo'i or even mala too, it's so fun for kids. And the fact that we can grow year round is so special. So I think it comes with its own challenges, of course, but yeah, I think we should make farming a little bit more accessible to the community.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Rachel, it was a pleasure having you on the podcast.
Thank you.
You have such fun stories and so much life experience, even though we're still young.
We are. We're very young. The youngest.
We're the youngest. But I look forward to seeing all the fun dishes and crops and tea drinks that you create in the future.
Yes.
I feel like you're always pivoting in really creative and interesting ways. So we'll see how the rest of your career unfolds.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun.
We just giggled all the way through.
Yes.
Mahalo everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Aloha.